Welcome to the first video in our video series on C++. C++ is a very common programming language and it has a long history. To begin with, what is a programming language and what is computer programming? A computer programming language is a language that computer is able to understand. It's similar to other languages like English, Japanese, and Korean. Nevertheless, it is used to command computer to perform certain operations, and its format is unlike natural language spoken by human. In order for computer language to work, like C++, we need a mechanism to translate our typed language into a form that computer can understand. This is what we call compiler. Compiler is a language that transforms high-level language, in this case C++, which is a high-level language, into machine language where computer can directly execute. So, to begin with C++, we first need to install a compiler. There exist many C++ compiler out there. However, if you have never used C++ before, I recommend you using MinGW if you are on the Windows platform. These compilers should also have Linux or Mac version. To get MinGW, first search MinGW in Google, and then click for the first website listed here. Then you enter a website page that looks like this. Click on the documentation, and then click on the Getting Started. Then you'll see a MinGW get setup.exe here. Click on it to download. Okay, it's automatically down here. And then go to your File Explorer, go to Downloads, and then run this program. Press Install. You can change your directory here. So because I already have a copy installed here, so I'm not going to. Or maybe I will still perform a demonstration because it can be confusing. Okay, and then you see this window here. Pick all this. Pick this one, this one, this one, and this one. If you are not going to use other language, you don't have to pick Ada, Fortran, or Object-C. After picking them, just mark for installation. But in this case, I've already installed, so it doesn't provide an option for me to install it again. After marking them for installation, press this Update Catalog, and then the software will automatically help you install the C++ compiler into your computer. So after installing, we still have some work to do. Find out the location where you have installed. In my case, it is in the C drive in MinGW, and the actual location of the compiler is in the MinGW directory, and then inside bin. However, in order to access the compiler from another place using the command prompt, we have to perform one more operation. Open your control panel, and then choose Programs, or no Programs, System and Security, System, Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables, the Path Variables, and then you have to create a new path variable and then add it into the environment variable. After performing this operation, then you can directly access the compiler in the command prompt. If you have got everything set up, we can type in PowerShell or command prompt in the search box here, and then try to type in G++, and then version. You should see something like this, indicating the version of the G++ compiler you have just installed. In case that it shows up a warning message in red text, that means that you have some problem with your installation. You may want to go back to the control panel to fix the path variable, or you may have to install again. If you see this message, that means your installation has successfully completed. Now, let's start with our first C++ program. To create a C++ program, we first have to create a Cpp file. A Cpp file is really just a text file. There's nothing special, but instead of calling it txt, we call it cpp. So I've created a cpp file here called hello-world.cpp. For now, it's empty. Now we are going to type our code here in the hello-world.cpp. By the way, the editor I am using is called Visual Code Studio. However, you are free to use any editor you want. In extreme case, you can also use the Notepad, but I will not recommend that because Notepad does not have code highlighting. It will make you difficult to recognize what is the function of different part of the code. To begin with, we should first write the include IO stream. This tells the compiler to include some standard library. You can treat the standard library as some pre-implemented function of the C++ programming language. There are many different standard libraries. For our first program, we will first use the IO stream, which is used for console input and output. All C++ program must contain a main function. It is the starting point of the program. And the main function should be a function that returns the integer variable. So as you can see, this is the main function. A function is just a section of code that the compiler will translate into machine code. And then the main function, which take the name main, is the point where all the code start to execute. For the main function, it will also always return a type of integer. There are many different data types in C++. We'll talk about the rest of them later. Let's begin with our first program first. So after including our stream, we are able to use the function cout. But before using cout, we have to indicate the namespace is within. Namespace is just a section of names for use in C++. It's not important at this point, but I can tell you that the std stands for standard library. So the cout is within the namespace of standard library. The detail is not important for the moment. So we use this operator to put in a string. Hello world here is a string data type. We use a double column to code the word we want to input to cout as a string. So here is actually a string. And then that's all about our program. And then we return 0 for finishing the execution. Since this main function is a function that returns an integer, so we return a 0 here. It's not important to understand the detail of the syntax yet. You don't have to understand what this means. Just know it as it does. So after writing this very simple program, it's time to transforming our C++ code into a program that the computer can execute. This process is called compile, and this is where we are going to call our compiler. Let's get back to our program here. Here. So here, you may want to open your command prompt here. If you don't have this option here, you can copy the path of the file which your CPP file contain, and then search it here, and then use cd, paste the path, and then it will bring you to the directory where your CPP file contains. And then we are going to use the compiler we just installed to compile this simple program. Type G++ which is the main GW compiler, and then type in the name of the CPP file, hello world. And then we would like to give a name to the output, for example, hello. Then execute this command, press enter. Oh, there is some problem here. So the problem here is actually we have forgot to save this. Let's save this and try again. Okay, everything works out now. Remember to save your file before compile. Otherwise, the compiler will see the file as an empty file and nothing will be done. So as you can see, there is now a hello.exe file in our directory. So .exe is actually the file name which stands for executable file. In other words, program. So we have just created our first C++ program. Let's try to run it in the console. To run the program, we can simply type its name, but not directly. Use this and then type in the name of the program, hello.exe. Press enter. And this is the result of the program, hello world, as shown here. Hello world. Okay. Let's make it bigger. Okay. It will be easier to see here now. Hello world. So we are finished with our first C++ program. And that's all for the video today. Next time we'll talk more about C++ data types.